Hello Horus Heresy fans, welcome to Heresy, the Horus Heresy talk show. In this episode, we're going to be talking about how to make an effective and playable force from the new Age of Darkness box that's coming out for the Horus Heresy in a couple of weeks. One of the questions I've seen online a few times, and also a question people have asked me, is how do I build the stuff in the box, or how many points is the stuff in the box, what do I need to upgrade the box, that kind of stuff. So I thought we'd do a quick episode, a quick chat on maybe how the options in the box shake out and what you can put together to get your first effective 1500 points on the table. Now, obviously, this is going to be a little bit agnostic of the Legion that you're playing, so this is a general guide to what's good, and you absolutely should consider overlaying your Legion rules on top of this. So you will be able to take this force and just drop it into any Legion rules and add their rules on top of yours if that's what you want to do. But you may want to tailor this to your specific list. You know, like if you're playing Salamanders, you might want to throw some more Flamers in, or you might want to swap some units out and that kind of stuff. But, you know, if you're really not sure where to start, or if you just want an idea of what the box can build, even if you're not going to follow what I'm talking about, this should give you a nice, easy in anyway. So the idea of this is going to be a playable force that's got the good options. Everyone always wants to know what the good options are, so that's what we're going to talk about. But also to build the box in such a way as it leaves you open options for when you want to turn it into your own army, when you learn a little bit more about the game, or when you buy some upgrades and that kind of stuff. So we're going to try and build it in such a way as it leaves you somewhere to go as well as you try to expand on it. And then finally, after that, we're also going to talk about how you can upgrade this 1500 point army using the other stuff that's coming out on the same day, because a lot of you will have bought that as well. The special weapons, heavy weapons, the new Rhino, the giant Kratos tank as well. So we'll also talk about how you can upgrade this so you've got something to focus on as your goal. And then you apply your own hobby on top of that. You do your conversions, you put your stuff on, you put your own mark on it. It's just a bit of a guide, really. So all you're going to need to build this 1500 point army is the Age of Darkness box, and I would recommend your Legion book as well, because building an army without your Legion book and your Legion flavor and your Legion lore and that kind of stuff takes away a lot of the fun, really. So make sure you got those two things when you're doing this. So out of the box, firstly what we're going to do is we're going to build a Praetor. So you're going to pick one of the Praetor models in the box. There's two. They've both got Artificer armor on, so they both look, kind of similar. So they're both basic Praetors. And then we're going to equip this guy. And what we're going to give him is we're going to give him a Paragon Blade, which makes him nice and chunky in combat, makes him nice and powerful in combat. Also, either of the Praetors can represent the Paragon Blade, because a Paragon Blade, by the law, can just be any weapon. It's just a really ancient, powerful weapon. We're also going to give him some of these things to fill up the points, but also to make the army a bit more fun to play as well. We're going to give him a Disintegrator Pistol, which is a really good gun, actually. It just, kills Space Marines. Kill Space Marines dead. It's really good at doing that. So we're going to give him a Disintegrator Pistol, and we're also going to give him Melter Bombs, because if you're playing against lots of other people who are playing similar box games, you're going to have Spartans driving around, you're going to have potentially other tanks driving around, and you want your Praetor to be able to just blow them up, right? So we're going to give him some Melter Bombs as well. So pick whichever Praetor you think looks coolest. You will just be building it as it comes on the sprue. None of these options lock you into what it looks like, and then you can always, go your own way with that model later. 180 points is the first bit down. So then we're going to take our troops choices. Now you have to have 2 compulsory troops choices, and obviously in the box we get lots and lots of Space Marines. Now these are these come with bolters and a few extra options as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to build 25 tactical Marines. We're going to give them chain bayonets because they look super cool. And they also make your Marines a little bit flexible as well. They make them quite good in combat. They get shred, so they can reroll their wound rolls, which makes them quite consistent. And they also get +1 strength as well. So when they hit a Marine with your chain bayonets, you're going to be wounding them on a 3. You're going to get a reroll on that. So if you charge into combat with your bayonets against someone else, there's a good chance you're going to mince quite a few of their Marines doing that. So these tactical squads, they got bolters. They're going to be shooting at other Marines, charging other Marines in combat, fighting over the objectives. You're going to get them nice and close to the objectives, so they get the Heart of the Legion bonus, which gives them a 6+ feel no pain. We're also going to give the sergeant in each squad, so we're going to split these 25 into 2 squads, a power weapon. So there's a power sword on the sprue. Perfect, looks really cool. You can always convert that into a different power weapon if you want to, pick a different one. And artificer armor, just to make him a bit tougher. So altogether, my suggestion is you split these into like 13 and 12, or you can do 15 and 10. You can do whatever you want to. Just split these into 2 units, and that comes out to 336 points, because the bayonets are 2 points each, so the math goes a bit funny. But so you get all those guys. And you have 15 left in the box as well. And the good thing about this is we built 25. We got some tactical squads. That will be the base of potentially any army that you run, any basic army that you run. So you've got all those tactical marines there. And now you've got 15 more left over. So if you've bought an upgrade sprue, or if you're going to buy an upgrade sprue in the future, or something like that, you've got 15 more men sat in the box on the sprue, ready to be assembled as whatever you want to assemble, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So there is your heart of your force, your 2 tactical squads. So next, we are obviously going to build the Dreadnought out the box, because it's an incredible model. And there's 3 weapons out the box that I'd recommend on the Dreadnought. So one's the Power Fist, because it makes them very good in combat, and they're really good at tearing up vehicles or tearing up opposing Cataphracte Terminators that come in the box. The Las Cannon, the Gravis Las Cannon, which is always good, and the Gravis Melter Cannon. So there's those 3 weapons. Now, that gives you some anti-vehicle firepower, or alternatively some guns that just kill some Marines dead. It doesn't kill a lot of Marines, but it does kill the ones it hits dead. And it gives you some melee power. You can mix and match those 3 weapons as you want. So you could use both guns, Las Cannon and a Melter Cannon. The ranges are a little bit mismatched on those, but they're both, really good at shooting vehicles or Marines. Or you can pick one of those guns and a Power Fist, which is probably my choice. I really like Power Fist and Melter Cannon. Personally, I think that, you're moving close with your Melter Cannon, you've got your Power Fist on the go as well, and then you get into combat. I think that works quite well. You can pick any of those 2. They're all about the same points. And so this Dreadnought works out to about 200 points. Pick 2 of those guns, and you've got a sweet Dreadnought that will do you well in lots of games. If you can magnetize, this is a good time to magnetize, obviously, or even just blue tack the weapons in potentially while you're still there and you're still playing the game, because at some point you're probably going to want to change those weapons. You probably want to go maybe double Las Cannons, double Melter Cannons, which would be super awesome, double Power Fists, or maybe swap some of the different weapons in and out later on when they get released. So if you can, unless you particularly want to just buy lots of Dreadnoughts, don't fix those weapons just yet either. Is a great idea. So next we're going to build our Cataphracte Terminators that come in the box as well. Now, ideally when we make a unit like this, we want to mix all the melee weapons to sort of get a bit of everything in there, and have some of them with cheap melee weapons and have some of them with, big melee weapons like Chain Fist, but you don't get super lots of options on this sprue. You also don't get a lot of the Cataphracte guns either. They're like a separate upgrade kit from Forge World. Maybe that's going to come out in plastic in the future, who knows. So we are going to build this kit though, because these guys are great, and we really want to make sure we can stick these in the Spartan, which we're also going to build as well, and the Spartan can drive them around and they can assault people, and so we're going to give them a bunch of weapons to make sure they're good at doing that. So we're going to give the Sergeant a grenade harness, which means they can charge through cover without getting negatives. It's like a nice little use of 5 points. We're going to give the Sergeant a Chain Fist, and then we're going to give 3 more guys Chain Fists. You get a lot of Chain Fists on these sprues. Chain Fists are really good. They're just as good as Power Fists in combat, but if you hit armor, they basically pretty much penetrate armor every time, really, whereas Power Fists, won't penetrate armor very often at all, particularly not the armor like the Spartans and stuff that come in these kits. So Chain Fists are a really good thing to have. So we're going to have a Sergeant and 3 more guys all with Chain Fists. Then we're going to have 2 guys with Power Fists just to save a few points, and if you're punching Marines, there's no difference in a Chain Fist and a Power Fist. And then 2 guys with Lightning Claws as well. Now, Lightning Claws are better than the other weapons at just killing normal Marines, because they don't need the extra hitting power to go through the armor. They get to reroll their wounds. So they're quite good, and they save you another few points. And also as well, they make the unit look cooler as well, because you've got a nice mix of 3 weapons. Then you've got Chain Fist, Power Fist, and Lightning Claws all in the same unit, so it's a nice little spread. So there's going to be 8 guys. We're going to build 8 of the Cataphracte Terminators, and what that leaves you is 2 unassembled guys. Cataphracte Terminators can take 1 gun special weapon per 5 guys, so what that means is that later on, if you get yourself some Reaper autocannons or something like that, or maybe just even some different melee weapons that you want to use, you've got a couple more guys left over from the kit you can assemble later on and give yourself some more options. So we're going to assemble these 8, put them in a big squad, and we're going to drive them around in a Spartan. As you expand your army, you probably want to break them down into smaller units, but for now that will be a nice thing to jump out of a Spartan at people. So talking of the Spartan, we're going to build that with the multi-melter. Now I think Spartans are very expensive, so you might as well spend a few extra points to give them yet another gun. And given they're going to be driving right into the thick of it, having a gun on a pinnacle mount that you can fire 360 degrees is nice. So we're going to give it the multi-melter on its pinnacle mount, which does come in the kit. And we're also going to give it the flare shield upgrade, which is 50 points, but gives it armor 15 effectively from the front, which makes it really hard to kill. So, and it shouldn't, hopefully won't be getting meleeed too much, because 8 Cataphracte Terminators will have just jumped out of it, so hopefully they'll be melee and whatever's near it that's going to scare it for melee. So that's a 420 point model. It's got a lot of las cannons, it's got a multi-melter, and it's tough to kill. And buying that big 50 point upgrade means slightly less models to assemble when you're first starting out with the army as well, which is always a nice thing to be able to do. So that army there, so the Praetor with his Paragon Blade, Disintegrator and Melter Bombs, 25 Tactical Marines with the Sergeants armed and some chain bayonets, a Dreadnought, 8 Cataphracti with a spread of weapons, and a Spartan comes to 1,500 points, give or take a couple, 1,496, 5 less if you took the fist on the Dreadnought, pretty much. And there you go, you've just built, from the box, a 1,500 point army that'll look great on the table, good spread of weapons, good spread of different units, and can deal with all, lots of different threats. It's got men, it's got tanks, it's got a Dreadnought. It's a really cool army. And you've got another Praetor, 15 more Tactical Marines, and 2 Cataphracti left over as well. So you've got more things you can do with them as you go forward. So there you go. That's your 1,500 points. Now, if you bought some extra stuff, like a lot of people will have done, or you go and pick some extra stuff up on the day when you get your pre-order, if you're picking it up in a shop, we can expand this out a little bit further. So my favourite pick from the new releases, well, obviously the 2 vehicles are good. The Rhino's great, the Kratos is great, but the special weapons kit is great as well. And a lot of you might have also bought the heavy weapons kit. So we've got 15 guys left over. If you've bought some of these upgrade kits, we can upgrade them and we can make your army bigger again. So here's some ideas of ways to make your army bigger. So for me, simple ways to make your army bigger. The Legion Tactical Support Squad. So this is a troop's choice that comes with lots of special weapons, so plasma guns, melter guns, that kind of thing. And you get lots of them in the special weapons box. You get tons and tons of guns. So my advice would be to build a unit of 5 Tactical Support Squad Marines with either 5 plasma guns, which is 145 points, or 5 melter guns, which is 170 points. And you can add an extra model or 2 to those units as well if you wanted, make them 6-7 guys all with the same guns. And those guys give you some extra, extra powerful guns in the force. Plasma guns, great at killing Marines, Terminators, all that kind of stuff. If you bought any Rhinos, or even if you just bought 1 Rhino, these little tactical support squads really love a Rhino because it gets them up into range, particularly if they've got melter guns. They can drive them up. Your Marines can jump out and melt something, which is really cool. Tactical squads that we put in the original army as well, if you make sure that they're a little bit smaller so they fit in the Rhino, they also love Rhinos as well. And, I know a lot of people did buy 2 or 3 Rhinos, so you might be able to make yourself a nice little armoured force, and Rhinos are only 35 points each. If you bought the heavy weapons box, I would go... I don't really fancy the heavy bolters too much personally, but 5-man unit with 5 missile launchers. Number 1 looks cool because they've got those old school Heresy missile launchers, but it's also a really good unit. So what I really like is taking the Cognus Signum and Artificer armor on the Sergeant as well. And you get 5 guys with missile launchers, and that's 145 points. So you can see these units we're talking about, 5 guys with guns, mostly around the 150 point mark. So if you're looking to increase your army by another 500 points, three of these little units of 5 will use up your last 15 Marines in the box and give you lots of Marines on the board with lots of better guns as well, which is quite a cool way to look at it. So yeah, 5 guys with missile launchers. They've got crack missiles to damage armor or kill Marines. They've got frag missiles, which are less good at killing things, but have got the pinning ability, which is a really good way to start using that mechanic if you're new to the game. And if you pin people, they can't make reactions like Overwatch and stuff as well, which is a really good thing to be able to do. The Cognus Signum in the unit means that guy can choose to give up his shot, but everyone else gets an extra ballistic skill, which is, if you've got 5 guys, is worth it generally, depending on what's going on exactly or what you're firing, but that gives you that ability too. And much like the other unit, you can add some extra guys to this if you want to. You can make it up to 6 or 7 models, depending on what you're adding into the army. You can also give them some more upgrades as well. So there's a Nuncio Vox, which lets you reroll your scatter rolls. So if you are firing frag missiles, lets you reroll them. And there's also the Augury Scanner that gives you the Interceptor ability, which lets you shoot at things that are outflanking and that kind of stuff as they turn up on the board. And, shooting something with 5 missile launchers when it turns up on the board is really good. Also, just returning fire with a unit, with these units with plasma guns, melter guns, missile launchers. If they get shot at, returning fire back at people is really good as well. These are good little units, these. So that's where you go, I think. Plasma guns, melter guns, or missile launchers. Make yourself a heavy support squad or a tactical support squad. Add some points. If you've got rhinos, add in some rhinos. You'll easily get yourself up to 2,000 points there. And also some ideas as well. If you want to mess around with this army, the places from the original list, I would take stuff off. You can make the tactical squad smaller. You can get rid of some chain bayonets, or you can take some of the power weapons off the sergeants if you want. You could also take the war gear off the Praetor, like his melter bombs and his disintegrator pistol. You could take the flare shield off the Spartan if you wanted to. That's 50 points. That buys you, half a squad of Marines as well. Or you can make the Cataphracte unit smaller. Just make sure you keep a couple of chain fists in the unit when you make them smaller. But there's loads of ways you can make that original army smaller to fit more of this upgraded stuff in as well. And then finally, for the new releases next week, if you bought a Kratos, definitely a good thing to add in. Looks amazing on the tabletop. Really great centerpiece for the army. Loads of interesting gun options. I would give it all las cannons if it was me. I think I really like the las cannons on it. The auto cannons and the Volkite static can take are okay for shooting at Marines, but when you got a tank, you really want to take these big laser cannons because it's good to kill other tanks, and it's also good at just popping Marines off the board as well. So I would give it all las cannons, which makes it up to 350 points. If you're going to give it a pinnacle weapon, most of them are a little bit underwhelming, really, but I'd give it a multi-melter because, as you can probably tell by now, I just love multi-melters. They're just really good. Spend 20 points on that. And then you've also got the choice to give it a flare shield, again, another 50 points, make it a real beast to kill. And you can also upgrade its main gun to a melter blast gun. And if you've taken a pintle multi-melter, those things kind of combo nicely together. You drove them forward with it to get into melter range. So there's quite a few different ways you can build the Kratos there. And you can easily spend, if you buy all them upgrades I've just mentioned, that's 435 points. I think my favourite setup on it, I think, that I'm going to use is all the las cannons on the secondary weapons and the melter blast gun in the turret. Mainly because I like the melter and I don't like the look of the battle cannon, not necessarily because it's better. That's 365, maybe a flare shield on top of that if I've got the points. But that's where I would be going. So you can see that I've bought the Age of Darkness box, and I've bought the special weapons upgrade sprue and a Kratos and a Rhino. So I've got 2,500 points there just from those. You can see how that's easy to get to. And if you follow the upgrades that I've talked about and the weapon options that I've talked about, you can make sure you're getting the effective weapons on the board there. So if you're playing against maybe someone who's played Heresy for a long time, who's got more options than you have, you're not going to be stuck for the ability to crack tanks or kill tough targets. You've got a nice balanced, well-rounded force in there as well. And if you overlay your Legion rules of choice on top of this, maybe you've got some extra options from your Legion. Maybe you've got a Rite of War you can get involved in there potentially as well. There's tons you can do just with the stuff in the pre-orders this week, and you can make sure you've got those correct options so that when you play that game, as well as having a great time, as well as having a lot of fun, you're also going to make sure that your stuff is effective on the tabletop as well. So that's that's a really good place to be in if you follow those things. I think that is pretty much it for this this short show, just talking about those bits. I hope for the people who are really unsure as to what to do with these Marines, you've found that useful. I would highly recommend, if you've listened to this and you think that this is something you want to do, certainly before you make the final decisions, make your Legion decision. I've got another episode you can listen to on maybe helping you make your Legion decision as well. Make sure you overlay that, because you don't just want to build an army list without any thought for whether that matches your Legion's flavor or not. You want to do that too. This is just to give you an idea of the kind of thing you can build, and maybe give you a starting point if you're really unsure what to do with the sheer amount of stuff in the Age of Darkness box plus the extra options. So thank you very much for listening. As I say, I hope it was useful. Please do drop me a comment, and if you enjoyed the content, like or subscribe. And I'm going to leave you with a quote from Angron to finish off. I think is very relevant to what we're doing while we're all trying to build our new armies and play some games of Horus Heresy. Glory is for cowards, too afraid to let their names die. Bye-bye.